Ladies and gentlemen, the Nintendo Switch 2 has been out for around 5 days now, and I'm enjoying it. I'm actually addicted to it. And while we did get a couple newer games to play, there's really not that much. But lucky for us, when the Switch 2 launched, it technically launched with like 12,000 games. But now that we've had some time, I am going to go over 50 Nintendo Switch games that are worth revisiting on the Switch 2. And all of these games have actually been reviewed by actual users. So this is definitive answers. You do not want to miss this. Let's go and get right into it. Yeah, the Nintendo Switch 2, I mean, it's incredible, right? I'm going to review the actual console here soon. I want to do it probably like a week in. So no real complaints yet, but I would like some more games to play. I'm loving Cyberpunk, I'm revisiting Tears of the Kingdom, Mario Kart World is great, but I'm gonna keep waving my hands. Where are the games at? Yeah, we have 50 of those definitively today that you need to revisit on the Switch 2. So before we get started, if you could hit a like and subscribe, that would truly mean the world to me. And follow me on Twitter and Instagram so we can keep our communities growing. And shout out my members, my channel members, you guys are amazing. Consider becoming a member. And I gotta give out a big sigh, man. This is a big task to go over. Let's get into 50 Switch games worth revisiting. So before the Nintendo Switch 2 was released, or actually like right after it was revealed, I think, we learned about 10 or 12 games that were getting free Switch 2 upgrades. I've already talked about these, so I'll go over these really quickly. ARMS is definitely a game worth revisiting. I think the characters are so cool. I think the concept is awesome. I'm not sure exactly what's different, but I think it's better frame rate and HDR support. Big Brain Academy, Brain vs. Brain. Yeah, I know they did something with game chat and maybe something else, but I'm not that sure, but I know it got an official Switch 2 upgrade. Captain Toad Treasure Tracker. I love this game. It's really just a very relaxing and fun game. This had some game chat stuff happen, some HDR support, and something else. Clubhouse Games 51 Worldwide Classics. This is actually something I want to re-pick up. I think this is the perfect game to own on the Switch 2, especially with game chat and game share. Game Builder Garage. I don't really know much about this, but I know they did something with mouse controls, so yeah, that's there. New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe. I freaking hate this game. An update or upgrade will not change that opinion. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. This is a night and day difference. You know when people say night and day difference? This is the definition of that. It is incredible now. Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury. They did so many upgrades and updates to this. Definitely worth revisiting, and it's actually my favorite Mario game that ever released on the Switch. Super Mario Odyssey. I beat this game 3 times. Now with the upgrades, it looks amazing. It runs better. I'll probably play it a 4th time. Echoes of Wisdom and Link's Awakening. These games are very similar to me. I like Link's Awakening. It's one of my favorite Zelda games of all time. I didn't enjoy Echoes of Wisdom that much, but it is cool to see them both get some upgrades. Link's Awakening, man, I could replay it right now. And then obviously I also have to mention Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. Here's the crazy thing. I had no intentions of replaying these games on the Switch 2, or at least getting the upgrades, right? I already owned both of them, so I thought, what the hell, I'll pay 10 bucks for the Switch 2 upgrade to Tears of the Kingdom. That way I'll own it forever, and it's not tied to Nintendo Online. Tears of the Kingdom is a masterpiece. So Nintendo also gave us about 4 or 5 extra upgrades, like right before the Switch 2 launched. Pikmin 3 got one of those. I'm not sure why Pikmin 4 didn't, so that makes me think they're going to do some kind of Switch 2 edition. But yeah, man, Pikmin 3, definitely worth rechecking out. Super Mario Bros. Wonder. I was very critical of this game when it first came out and a little harsh on it. And then when I replayed it, my whole opinion changed, which is, crazy how that can happen. This is awesome. I don't know everything that they did to it, but I think it's HDR and maybe 60 frames per second. Kirby Star Allies. A strange game to get an official Switch 2 upgrade. But maybe Nintendo's trying to push Kirby with the Switch 2 edition that's coming out. And a game that got a Switch 2 edition, like the day before launch, is No Man's Sky. And if you own this game, I think the Switch 2 upgrade, like the official Switch 2 edition upgrade, is free. I watched the trailer, it looks incredible. This is something I'm definitely going to pick up. I love space, I love exploring games, adventure games. This is nothing like it was when it launched. So the Switch 2 edition of this, in my opinion, is now a must play, especially since it has a free upgrade. Super Mario 3D All-Stars also got an upgrade, and I know they did a couple things for performance, but I think you had to upgrade it just to be able to play it on the Switch 2 for some reason. I kind of feel like they might do something similar for the 40th anniversary of Mario. I'm not really sure. I hope they do something similar. If you've got it, play it. If you don't, I guess take out a mortgage on your house so you can buy another copy. And Xenoblade Chronicles 3. This is the last game, as far as I know, that got an official Switch 2 upgrade. And I know they did something with performance, maybe HDR, and I want to say the frame rates as well. It's a phenomenal game, phenomenal series. So if you've got it, definitely check this one out again. So those are all the games that got official Switch 2 upgrades. Nintendo actually went in there and did their own upgrades. Every game we're about to talk about now is just users reviewing them themselves. Yeah, we have a wide range of games here that are definitely worth revisiting on the Switch 2. We gotta start with Blasphemous. I love this game. It's the game that reminds me of Hollow Knight the most. I know they're similar in ways, but also very different, but it reminds me of my time with Hollow Knight the most. From what people are reporting, this game is now running at 60 frames per second. Asphalt 9 Legends. This is actually a free-to-play game, and when I played it on the Switch, I was addicted to it for like a month straight. It was actually one of the first Switch games I think I ever played. Now, I think it's running at 60 frames per second and might have HDR support as well. Definitely give this one a shot because it's a free-to-play game. So a game that was damn near unplayable on the Switch was XCOM 2. And a lot of users are reporting that this game is playable, it looks amazing, and it's definitely worth checking out now. So a really cool game called Ashen, it's actually currently on sale right now for $10. This game is running at 60 frames per second now, and it kind of had the same thing with XCOM going, that it was damn near unplayable on the Switch, or not really worth it. Now knowing that it's running great on the Switch 2, and seeing that it's a co-op action RPG, it's like a no-brainer, especially for me. It's definitely something I'm gonna have to personally pick up. So a game that we got in a collection was Batman Arkham Knight. I own Arkham Asylum, and I was playing it on the Switch right before the Switch 2 launched. It ran great. What's the other one? Arkham City? Maybe? I could be wrong. I'm not that familiar with these games, actually. I heard that one was also very playable, but Batman Arkham Knight was unplayable. It was buggy, glitchy, would crash all the time. We can now report this game is playable on the Switch 2. But there are times where the game will crash, but that's here and there. But yeah, the game for the most part is playable and definitely worth checking out now. So a really cool game called Boril Tenebrae. I think that's how you pronounce it. This game is actually on sale right now for $1.99. This game is another game that's running at 60 frames per second now and has better performance. The game is inspired by 90s classics and the best TV series. So yeah, this looks great. It sounds very interesting. It's only $2 right now, and it's just running way better on the Switch 2. This is another game I think I'm personally going to pick up. Celeste, one of the greatest Nintendo Switch games of all time. I do think this is actually multi-platform. I always thought this was Nintendo exclusive, but it might be on other platforms. Or maybe I'm getting it mixed up with another game. Regardless, this is now running at 60 frames per second. So the original version had no issues, but this is just running better and looking better. Darksiders 3 is a phenomenal game. I'll be honest, I haven't played all of the Darksiders games, but I did pick this up on an eShop sale and it was a lot of fun. This has better performance now and is running at 60 frames per second. Again, this goes on sale on eShop sales all the time for less than $10 or right around there. So definitely give this one a shot on the Switch 2. I kind of feel like if this one is running good, the other ones probably will as well. So a really fun game that I think I originally played on Xbox is Descenders. And I never picked this up on the Switch because I would see people play it and it was playable, but it wasn't like great quality. This is now running at 60 frames per second. Also, it seems like it has HDR support. Yeah, I think this is actually a must-buy game on the Switch too if you're into this whole action sports kind of thing. Monster Hunter Stories 2 is also running at 60 frames per second and also has better performance now. And I've heard people say they think it has HDR support, so, take that with what you will. But this is something I feel like that came and went on the Switch. But now that it's on the Switch too, and it looks the way it does, definitely worth checking out. So Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal both have better performance and better frame rates now. I will say they were arguably some of the best ports on the Switch, so if they were just running as good as they were on the Switch, that would be perfectly fine. But a lot of people are reporting that it looks better and it seems to be running better. And hopefully we'll get Doom the Dark Ages. But even if we don't, which we probably will, I mean, buy these. They're always on sale for like $5 each, and play them on your Switch too. Probably would be fun in mouse controls if they support that. So this is going to be a big collection of games. And this is multiple reports saying this. Resident Evil 4, 5, and 6. And Revelations 2 and maybe the first one, and I think I'm missing a game in there. All of these games are running at 60 frames per second now, and that's just incredible. I never realized how many Resident Evil games we had on the Switch, and now seeing that these are all running better on the Switch too. A lot of these games go on sale all the time for less than $10. Resident Evil Revelations right now is on sale for $8. So maybe some of the other ones are as well. It's looking like the Switch 2 is going to be the home of Resident Evil. Dragon Quest Builders 2 is now running at 60 frames per second, has better performance, and again, it looks like it has HDR support. This was a game that I never realized how bad the performance was, because I really enjoyed it. It was my first Dragon Quest Builders game ever. I might have played this before Dragon Quest 11, and I enjoyed it. It looked great. But going back and comparing like gameplay of this now to some gameplay before, there was like bad pop-ins and it would get kind of muddy in some of the towns. This is now the ultimate way to play this. I don't own this currently, but I would love to pick it up again on the Switch 2. And again, if they have mouse support for this, or maybe if that works one day, if it doesn't now, I think that would be really interesting. So The Last Remnant Remastered. This is also running at 60 frames per second now. It seems to have better performance, probably just, because of the Switch 2. And I was reading about this, and you can't buy this game anywhere currently without emulating it, I think, besides Nintendo consoles currently. And that's crazy. So a game that, at least in my opinion, was not worth it on the Switch was Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity and Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition. Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition was better than Age of Calamity, at least the performance was. But if you were to ask me before, do I recommend them on the Switch? I always told people, if there's a demo, try that, but honestly, just skip them. But both of these games are running and looking way better. Both of these are definitely worth picking up now, especially with a new Hyrule Warriors game coming out later this year. Klonoa is also running better on the Switch. And again, Klonoa has like a I don't want to say a cult following, but a pretty big following. When this game came out on the Switch, I feel like nobody talked about it, or it at least seemed that way. Maybe it was because of the performance, I'm not sure. But this is now running at 60 frames per second with better performance, so definitely worth revisiting. Live Alive, one of my favorite pickups ever on the Switch. This originally released on the Super Nintendo and Super Famicom, or actually, I don't know if it ever came to America. It might have only been on the Super Famicom, but it finally came to America, and it's incredible. It's like 6 mini JRPGs in one. It's so damn fun. This is now running at 60 frames per second, and it is a must-play game. Mario & Rabbids Kingdom Battle, this is running at 60 frames per second. This is an incredible tactical RPG, always on sale for $10 on the eShop. You can find it physically for like $10 all the time. This is running at 60 frames per second. People are reporting that Sparks of Hope is running at 30 frames per second. Metroid Dread, arguably one of the greatest Nintendo Switch games of all time, one of the greatest video games of all time. But yeah, I just feel like it's kind of, the hype around it has died down. Maybe because of Metroid Prime 4 coming out and Metroid Prime Remastered, but Metroid Dread is a phenomenal game. It's very difficult, but now is the time to play it because it is now running at 60 frames per second. So a really fun game that looks kind of stupid and is kind of stupid, but it's still really fun. I'm talking about My Friend Pedro. Unleash a torrent of destruction with an incredible level of control over both your weapons and your body. This game is goofy, it's wacky, it's always on sale in the eShop, and it is now running at 60 frames per second. Neo, The World Ends With You, when I made my ranking every single first-party Nintendo game tier list, I ranked this pretty high, and I do think this is a very underrated Switch game, and I'm really not sure why, but this game actually has a demo, so I would download that demo. This is running at 60 frames per second, has better performance, and it at least seems that it has HDR support, so I don't know how true that is, but just the frame rates themselves are going to make it worth revisiting. New Pokemon Snap, I think is such an underrated game. If you didn't grow up with it on the N64 and you bought this, you probably thought, what's the point? Or you might have even skipped it. I do think it ran and looked decent. Well, actually, probably better than decent on the Switch. But now on the Switch too. 60 frames per second, maybe even a little higher. And it definitely looks like it has HDR support. Yeah, I just freaking love these games so much. They're so near and dear to my young adolescence playing N64 on my Pikachu themed N64, and then printing out the pictures. You just had to be there, man. So both Ori games, Blind Forest and Will of the Wisp, are both reported to be running at 60 frames per second. I can't remember which one it was. Maybe Will of the Wisp, or I really can't remember. It's been so long. Both of them looked great on the Switch and ran great. One of them, when there would be a lot of stuff happening on the screen, you could tell there was like frame rate problems and it was getting a little laggy. So both of these games are masterpieces and definitely worth revisiting on the Nintendo Switch 2. Penny's Big Breakaway, I actually just talked about this game pretty recently, maybe in an eShop sale video. If you like 3D platformers or any kind of platformers, there's a good chance you're gonna enjoy this. I like the colors in the game. I like the overall themes of everything. And now this is running at 60 frames per second. One of my favorite games I've ever played is Super Mario RPG. And I actually think this looked phenomenal on the Switch OLED, especially when the three characters will do like their little thing where all three of them do their big attack or whatever. I'm not really good at explaining stuff. I can't believe I've made it this far on YouTube. But there were times when the game would look amazing and I would even capture screenshots of it. This is now running at 60 frames per second. And again, people are thinking, just from looking at it with their eye, that it has HDR support. This game goes on sale all the time physically for like 20 bucks, which is crazy because it's one of the best games ever. Very short, only like 10 hours, but I am going to replay this on the Switch too, and I cannot wait. Arguably the greatest video game of all time, and it's not up for debate, SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated. I beat this entire game on my GameCube, I beat it again on my Switch, and I enjoyed it on my Switch, but, you know, nostalgia was really helping me push through it because there were times where the frame rates were crazy. It looked just insane sometimes. This damn game is now running at 60 frames per second. Again, arguably one of the greatest games of all time, and I really mean it this time. The Stanley Parable on the Switch, it's called Ultra Deluxe because I actually don't even know what's extra in it. What a crazy and weird game. It's like a fever dream almost in the best way possible. If you don't know what this game is, blind buy it and it'll probably become one of your favorite games ever. And if you do know what it is, you know how crazy it is. This is now running, maybe I read it wrong, but it might have said 120 frames per second, which is like, I guess there's not that much going on the screen, so possibly, but at least 60 frames per second and has better performance. And it's a game everybody should play. And a major game that, yes, it was on the Switch and it was labeled the impossible port, sure. I'm talking about The Witcher 3. I tried playing it on the Switch. I've actually tried to play this game like 4 times. I cannot get into it. I've played maybe 5 hours each time. And, you know, I love Skyrim, I love Zelda, I love Fable, I love everything that's adjacent to this. I cannot get into this damn game. That being said, it's still one of the greatest games of all time. The fact that it was running on the Switch is a miracle, but it looked freaking horrible on the Switch. I was watching some gameplay and it looks way better. And they're playing a handheld. So playing docked to the TV, I gotta assume it even looks better. Ladies and gentlemen, I tried to fly through these because if not, I would be talking about them for like hours, but there was around 50 or maybe more, maybe 1 or 2 less, I don't know. I didn't really count. But there's around 50 Switch games worth revisiting on your Switch too. In the comments below, any Switch games you have played that are running and looking better on the Switch 2, drop them in the comments, let people know. And yeah, start a list down there. Maybe we'll learn some more games and it can only be a good thing, right? More games to play on our Switch 2? It's a no-brainer. If you made it to this part of the video, hit a like and subscribe, follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and make sure you like and comment on every video because I'm going to give away eShop gift cards every single week in my videos to my community, and I'm going to be giving away multiple Switch 2s. Oh yeah, and become a member because you'd be amazing. And you guys know me, I'll see you very soon with a new video. Peace out.